everyone. Do you know sometimes you have a plan in mind and then all of a sudden you think, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something completely different. So I have got this lovely Brandy goblet. As usual, I have gone for thick, heavy lead crystal. And I know that a lot of you can't get your hands on that, but you can still get pretty good effects from a good quality glass. I would say make sure that it's relatively thick. Don't go for something too thin. Listen to this ring. Oh, that is so beautiful. Anyway, lovely, lovely goblet. And I decided that I was going to do a little field mouse on wheat. And what I did was I looked on the internet. As you know, there are endless photographs on there, but you don't want to take someone else's photograph exactly. But what I have done is taken a piece from the internet, a photograph of a mouse. It was listed under copyright-free, royalty-free pictures. And there is a little mouse, a little field mouse, okay? And then I have found pictures of wheat. So then I've taken the pictures of wheat. Now, I am lucky, I've got Photoshop, so I can fiddle around on there. But if you haven't got Photoshop, get these things printed out to the size that you want. And then if you get a bit of tracing paper, trace over the mouse, and or the other way around, trace over the wheat and then trace over the mouse, or just draw the wheat because it's pretty basic, and then trace the mouse, or just draw the mouse. So I chose some wheat and I took this little mouse and I put it sitting, let me hide behind here so you can get a focus. I put it sitting on the wheat. Now this is the picture. I may not use all three. I might just use these two, and I might put another one or two or three maybe, or even just one, onto the other side of the glass. So we have just mainly the mouse and the wheat on the front, and then more wheat on the back, and that will give it that 3D effect that I absolutely love. But I literally, and then I just added in a funny tail, because in the actual picture I think his tail's just going straight sideways. So I've added in the tail just sort of coming up round. Whether it does that or not, doesn't matter. But I looked roughly at the size of the wheat versus the size of the mouse, and something like that anyway. So let's have some fun. Enjoy. Right, so we're all ready with our mask and headband magnifier, which can go over glasses if you wear glasses. Here I have got the correct size artwork, and I've used white tack to stick it to the inside of the glass, roughly in the position that I wanted. Well, actually in the position that I want it to be in. As I said, the wheat at the top, ignore that, because that is roughly the image, the overall image it'll have when I do it on the other side. Got my water drip feed system going, which looks like it needs a bit of a clean near the end there. That's not very nice. Ignore that bit. I have got a very small diamond burr, and very, very lightly I am tracing the basic shape of this animal. You won't be able to see it very clearly because I've got the white paper behind it, and also we are very offset. This camera is very offset to my view. As you know by now, I put my camera on the side and try and squeeze around the front of myself trying to film. By the end of this mouse engraving, let me tell you, I do manage to sort my camera out, hopefully once and for all. Anyway, so just getting the basic shape in there. I will still be tracing a lot of the details through the glass with the paper behind, but when you can just about see these details, it just helps positioning when you move your head around, so it's very important. Now, I had fun and games with doing this wheat, so we will pick up wheat later on, but you can see the basics of what I did. I had a diamond burr and I was getting the basic shape of each little kernel, or whatever you call them, and well, you can see how I've done them. What I did is I got my head in the way again. And with the tail, so I'm going over the tail again with a diamond that is the size of the tail. I don't want to scribble into it, and I don't want to have something that's too fat. So I've chosen a diamond, and I think I've gone slightly smaller here just to do the end a little bit. Going fairly deep, and making sure that I have gone through the layers of the little kernels of wheat, because I don't want the tail to look lumpy. I want it to be a smooth flowing tail right through the wheat, so that it appears to be in front of the wheat. Now here I've got a sintered diamond burr, and it's quite a large one, and I'm going to use this to fill in the middle part of the mouse, because I want to gouge away the area, so I've got a nice rounded deepish shape of the mouse. Now I'm going to try and let you hear this. Hold on a minute. Okay, did you hear that? That sounded really rough and ready. I didn't like the sound of that at all. As I say, this particular drill handpiece that I'm using, I am not overly happy with. But anyway, so that burr needs to be put in a really big drill, and you won't even notice. So I've taken the same type of burr, but a different one. I think there's something slightly wrong with the shape of the other one. So now let me show you the sound of this. So you may or may not have been able to tell, but there was a distinct difference. This second burr has got a much smoother sound, and the feel is exactly the same. It is a much smoother feel. It doesn't feel as though it's bouncing across the glass. Now don't worry about all these curly bits. This is not a sheep mouse. Looks like it's got very curly, thick hair. All I am doing is removing quite a lot of area, a lot of glass, to give it a bit of depth and shape. And you will see I will come up slightly shallow towards the cheeks, and then the cheeks will be deeper again, so that they come into relief, and it just adds a slightly different dimension. Yeah, just adds a slightly different dimension. Of course, as I've said before, the water enables the burr to cut far more easily into the glass. The diamond lasts much longer, although this is a sintered diamond, which means there's diamond all the way through. And obviously is much more expensive, but it is well worth it. And it's quite a smooth diamond. It's not very rough. Now I'm going over the little eye area. I will be able to pick up where that is. I'm just filling in the overall shape of it. And as I say, I will create little cheeks for this fella. And you will see much later on, I will do an imprint onto a bit of white tack so that you can see the relief. And that's a bit of fun. I'm quite interested in the idea of printing with engraved glass. I've never done that before, and I know that it is possible to do this, and lots of engravers over time have done this. I would imagine you need a flat piece of glass for that, but if you can imagine a good bit of relief engraving, well, not necessarily relief, but intaglio engraving, whichever way you want to look at it, and print it onto put a bit of ink in there and print it onto a piece of paper. That would be really rather fun. One day I will have to try that. Maybe we'll experiment together. Haha. The ears I am going very, very lightly, because obviously he does not have great big fat lumps of plasticine for ears. He's got very thin ears. What have I got here? I have got a great big diamond coated flame shaped burr. Now what this is going to do is get rid of all those curly whirly bits. Let me just turn down this music because it's driving me nuts. Hold on a second. That's better. Right, so what this is doing, as I said, this is getting rid of the brush strokes, if you like, of the smaller round diamond burr that was digging into it. So this is, while it is removing more glass, so making it go slightly deeper, it is just generally smoothing it out, and it starts to feel really, really nice. You can feel it with your fingers and thumb, how smooth it is. This can also be done with stone as well. Lots of people use stone, even dry, but I do like to use water and a large diamond flame shape. Now you can see some effectively what looks like brush strokes in there, but they're very, very smooth. And we're going to be working a lot into this area, so you will not have any clue what it looks like underneath. It's just going to be a depth. That's what we're creating now. And then all the texture and shading will be created on top of that. Remember, we paint with diamonds. Haha. So it is like building up a painting. And our burrs are our palette of colours. The burrs, and whether we work wet or dry or fast or slow or heavy or light-handed, different speeds, it's just amazing what we can do. Right, what am I going to do next? Let's have a look. Right, here's our original drawing. It's important now to look very carefully at your artwork. And I say it's a drawing. It's not a drawing. It's royalty-free photograph. So it's time to start looking for details. Now you can see I have actually gone into the eye with a very, very tiny diamond. I did that with my head in the way. Once again, but it's very simply, literally with a little tiny diamond burr, and I just went into that area and put a deep eyeball in there. So now I'm looking at where the little cheeks are, and that little bit, what do we call that? It's a sort of a little mouth, top of the mouth area. Being very, very careful not to go over the edges or make it into a funny shape that I can't rectify, because once you've gone over the lines you really, really can't sort that out unless you've got a very large polisher, grinder and polisher. So we won't even go into that at the moment because we're going to get it right first time. So now I've got a bit of depth going on there, and I have now got a large rubber disc, a hard rubber disc, and I am just going over an area that is going to be a bit darker. Now why did I do that? Let's see, I haven't put the arms in yet, and I have a feeling I also got my head in the way for the arms. No, we've changed to a bullet rubber. Okay. I usually work the rubbers dry, but for some reason I probably patience. I've done this with water. Doesn't make an awful lot of difference, apart from the fact that when you are using rubber when it's wet, it will wear down faster. Oh, I have done the little arms. You can see them there. Now, as I say, unfortunately, I got my head in the way, but literally I have used a small diamond ball burr, and I have just taken the arm up and put a little blob where the little hands are for the moment. As simple as that. Now here I'm showing you a rather worn down rat's tail. As you know, you can keep using the rat's tails for quite some time. Certainly the slightly thicker ones, and I have got a green stone. And once again we're going to grind down the top of the rat's tail to get to the fresh diamonds because they've worn away a little bit. And we just grind that down nicely. You'll be able to feel it with your finger. That's quite sharp. And these now will be really nice and sharp and will be able to cut nicely. Now I've got the very, very fine rat's tail that comes in the Leslie Pike glass engraving starter kit from Eternal Tools. And this one, if you wanted, you can say to them, if this one's too fine for you and you want the other rat's tail instead, just mention that. Just mention to Lucy, and I'm sure she will give you the slightly larger rat's tail instead. There might be a slight difference in price, I'm not sure, but it would not be much. You will see that I do use both. So what I did with both of those is I ground them down to the size. Now I've given this a wipe. You can see amazingly, isn't that incredible, our little character already nice and smooth, nice and neat. He's waiting for lots to happen to him. Already got quite a little face, a little character going on there. Oh, they're so cute. I love doing the little creatures on glass. There we go. You can see how I've put the other wheat underneath, lower down. Right, what have I got here? I've got some white tack, which I am just manipulating a bit, making it a bit soft and shoving it straight into his face. And this is just to show you briefly the relief. There we go. Sweet man. Right, what have I got here? I've got a soft grey rubber burr, an old one and a new one. This old one has really done its time. I've used both ends. I've turned it upside down, and I think his days are over. So here we are with a new one. It's got a hole drilled in the top, and you're just going to wind that straight onto the mandrel. And let's be going after that. What you don't want to do initially is run this at a very high speed. You don't need a high speed at all. Just have a slightly slower speed. You see, I had it too fast, so I quickly slowed it down. And because if you do have it too fast, when it's a brand new full one, it'll get a floppy end and go flying, and you won't be able to use it. Yeah, what else can I tell you? So what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the picture, which I've got on the side, and I'm just looking into the background of the picture, background of the hair, and just picking out where I can see darker areas underneath the hair. And where, like underneath the cheeks, you can see that it will pick up nicely on the ridge. The rubber will pick it nicely. And here I have got my very, very worn down old rat's tail. Quite appropriate for this. Well, it's not a rat, it's a little mouse. Now you can see the hair shapes there, and I am telling you now with my little actions that we must go in the direction of the hair. I'm going to start off, I think I start off dry. I usually start off dry. This is oh no, I'm not. I'm going straight in wet. It's nicely sharpened already, so it will cut nicely into into the glass. And now you keep your eye on the picture and follow, obviously not every single hair, but you're going to do an awful lot of hairs, and you're going to go in the direction as you see them in the picture. This is vitally important. I'm keeping within the shape for the moment, although there are hairs that go on the outside, but we will add those later on. And at this point I'll probably give you some music. Hold on a second. I'm quite quick, aren't I? Just imagine if we could engrave that fast. Right, what have I got here? I have got a white Arkansas little stone, and I'm going into the eye where I had engraved with a little diamond, and I am just giving a little bit of shading around the edge, and I think I've probably gone into the middle of the eyeball as well, though you couldn't really see it very clearly, which smooths it out, making it easier to polish it. This is called a pre-polishing stone, this white Arkansas. As you well know, it is one of my favorite burrs, very important burr. And here I am giving the little ears an instant shading. As you can see, it just, I'm hardly touching it, by the way. It's very, very smooth, and running your finger over that, it is really not deep at all. As I say, these ears are thin little ears, and you want them to look like that. You don't want them to look like great big lumps. Look at his little smile on his face. Cheeky little thing. Again, referring to the picture as much as possible. Obviously, this is not a botanical study, as I always like to say, unless it is literally for an expert on mice. Then you've got to then you've got to be very, very careful. But we're just getting a general impression of our little mouse. Now, just noticing that I haven't done the hair over the top half of the arms. I call them arms. They're not really arms, are they? They're little legs, but you can see I need to add more hair on there, and I will be doing that. Don't worry. Yeah, if you look carefully at the hair, you can see quite a lot of darkness behind it. And so I'm not going to make the whole of the back of the hairs dark, because they are quite deep. You can see the relief in the hair there. There we go. I'm adding some more hair onto the little upper arms. The light will catch the ridges and make them look shaded as well. So I have just put into the drill a tiny little pencil rubber, little brown rubber, in its mandrel as well, and off we go. This is also in my glass engraving beginner's starter kit from Eternal Tools. And I've gone into the eyeball and the nose and the mouth, just picking up and giving it a nice little bit of darkness. And they're like little jewels. You can see they will look like they are sticking out, even though you have engraved them deep. It's all the wonders of glass engraving. Adding a few more little bits of shading here and there. Of course, it is quite tricky to show the effects when you've got little bits of glass and rubber over the top of it. But when it's all cleaned up, it's much, much clearer. He looks funny because he's got no hairs on the outside yet, so I will be adding that just now. Don't worry. He looks more cartoon-like at the moment. I think he'll look more real when I add the outer edge hair. Now you'll notice I have done the shading around the edges of the eyeball, and I will be adding some not eyelids, well, they're sort of eyelids, right? This is what I'm going to do now, I think, just now. I've got the rat's tail again, just picking up some details there, and over the edges of the eye are little eyelashes. It's a hint of eyelashes and lids, if you like, with lashes on. It's also helps to not make the eye look like it is really bulging. You don't want a bulging eye. You just want the shape of the eyeball to be evident, and the light will pick up its shine. Cute. I put a little sparkle in the middle, as I usually do, although as I say, it will be picking up the light anyway because you've made it nice and shiny. Right, what have I got? I've got the very, very fine rat's tail burr, also from the starter kit. I'm sure I haven't put it into the drill deep enough. It's quite interesting. Anyway, Right, that's nice and sharp, and I'm now literally very lightly grabbing the edge of the engraving and flicking it up into the open very carefully. I don't want to have chips, because chips will show up. You won't be able to hide them. So we are making the finest of little hairs. And it's quite easy, because if you're grabbing the edge of the engraving where the surface of the glass is already broken, it's easier to pull away and make these little flicks. And all of a sudden, our little mouse, it looks definitely hairier than he did before. He or she? Don't know. Maybe we should add a little bit of that music at this point.